Welcome to the Carpool Chat, from our house to the State House, the commute that nobody ran for. I am Representative Tina Bojanowski, and I am here with my colleagues, Representative Sarah Stocker and Representative Rachel Rourks. It has been quite a week here in Frankfort. It's Friday morning, and we've just come out of a really long session. We debated two really major issues. So let's talk first about, so today we voted on a resolution that impeaches a judge. And so just an impeachment is just the first step, and then it goes to the Senate where they have effectively a trial to decide what happens. So sometimes I think that word impeachment means you're out, but it doesn't. It just means that this document is then presented to the Senate. Rachel, can you talk a little bit about
this is HR 124.
What we did today?
Absolutely. So this resolution had to do with Judge Julie Goodman from Fayette County, and she's a circuit court judge there. There was an impeachment committee this session. There are other impeachments that have been filed. This is one that the House has chosen to proceed with. And there was evidence presented today, and then also there was a minority report submitted as well. So there was both a majority and a minority report. All can be found on the LRC website. As well as all the evidence that was presented before us today. So what happened, we had a lengthy floor debate about whether or not we thought we were creating a precedent about misconduct that was severe enough to actually continue with this impeachment and pass it over to the Senate. I think we all voted no to not do that because we've only impeached one judge in Kentucky history, I believe,
and that lasts 200 years.
And a total of 4 impeachments altogether in the history of the state.
We only actually ever removed one person from office, and that was for treason. So it usually has a very high threshold, and it usually has criminal findings to go along with it. I think a lot of the concern that I had today was around the fact that there is a judicial process that could be followed if somebody has done misconduct, and that can be proven before it comes to us for this level of action. But the House did vote to impeach, and now it is moving over to the Senate.
This is true, and I was a no because I shared the same concerns. I think there were some concerning things that were brought up.
Right.
However, this would send chills down everyone who serves currently as a judge across the state to see us kind of leapfrogging over and going straight to an impeachment process. Right. So there were so many other things and steps that needed to happen prior to it ever coming to the state level of the House of Representatives that I thought that was really concerning. So
yeah. It was a difficult vote because there was a lot of compelling evidence negatively against the judge, and I'm listening and thinking, but then I also don't have the constitutional background, the legal background to know how it all works through the system. So the House did vote to impeach Judge Goodman, and it will go to the Senate. And so I think I've heard that the Senate can stay in session in order to have that trial. So I'm not sure when it will occur, but we'll look for that in the future.
Yeah, something to watch for sure.
All right. So we had another bill that had extensive debate on the floor today, and that was Senate Bill 4. So Senate Bill 4 is a bill filed by Senator Steve West, and the original bill created, he had done a lot of trying to figure out what is it that we need to do to make educators feel better about their buildings. And it all boiled down to principal leadership. And so what he developed in the original Senate Bill 4 was a principal leadership program, which we all basically agreed would be
it was like a 5-year program.
A really great thing. There was a House committee sub on the bill that we heard in education this week that made major changes to the structure of the school boards, both in Jefferson County and Fayette County. They're both considered large districts. And just in a summary, in Jefferson County, the board would go from 7 elected members to 5 elected members, and both Fayette and Jefferson would have 2 appointed members with a background in finance.
So with a minimum of 10 years experience.
With a minimum of 10 years of experience. So in light of the budget concerns in both districts, it seems rational to have someone come in with that type of experience. But tell me a little bit about your thoughts, Sarah, on this legislation.
Well, I recognize that we have a lot of challenges. Where I was really struggling with this legislation, there was a couple of reasons. One, I think we're making an assumption that if we bring in non-elected individuals, 2 people, I think there's kind of concerns right out of the gate with that. But to say, yeah, but we need 2 people with finance experience. Okay, but what is preventing anything right now from somebody running for school board that has finance experience, right? So it's not like it doesn't become a paid position. So you're still having to, you can still go recruit somebody to appoint them to that board, recruit them to run. Right? So I still think it needs to be part of the elected process. And then plus this pulled in concerns about the way this would affect people's ability to even run for school board if they taught in another school district outside of their county. So let me
clarify. There is in law that if you are a teacher in Jefferson County Public Schools, you cannot run for the Jefferson County School Board. But there was no limitation on an individual who is an educator in another county from running for the school board where they reside. So this bill, in effect, in the large school districts, which are JCPS and Fayette County Public Schools, an individual would not be able to be an educator even in another district and be on the school board of the district where they reside.
I think it was one of those votes today that there's really conflicting in a lot of ways, because I know there's people who are probably very supportive of trying something new, and there's folks that are going to be like, this was not maybe the way to go about it. But I think where we are within JCPS, especially within our school board, and seeing the things that the decisions that we're having to make because of the budget shortfall, it really does bring up the public's trust in the process. And I think the steps that are being taken in the bill are different from some of the other attempts that we've seen in other bills. And I think a lot of people felt like this was a little bit more collaborative and a compromise of how we can move forward with a little bit more oversight, especially with the financial background that some appointed members will have. And there's some staggering positions too, so that there can, staggering terms, so that way everyone's experience doesn't just go within one election cycle or one term. And there's also some term limits as well.
Well, and my position is we have to do something reasonable to increase confidence in Jefferson County Public Schools with both this General Assembly and our community. There are so many amazing things happening in Jefferson County Public Schools every day. And we have our struggles. And we are a large, urban, high poverty school district. And so what we need to do is just maybe take a reset and have something that we can, I voted for the measure. I feel like that we can take this initiative, these changes, and move forward in supporting JCPS and not the constant considerations of, do we break up the district? Do we make an all-appointed school board? I think it was a reasonable measure that was well thought out that hopefully will move the district forward and out of this kind of constant angst against the district.
Yeah, I also ended up voting for it as well, and feel that was the right thing to do for my district and from the feedback that I had heard. But it was definitely one of the tougher votes that I think I've had to take this session.
Yeah, a little hard today. A little hard this whole
hard day
week.
Right. It's always hard, and as I've been here, this is my 8th year, and it's always hard when you make a decision that can seem so clear to a stakeholder, and then you have a bigger picture. you have the 8 years and starting with the sewer bill, when we, right before I came in, kind of an attack on teachers. So to look at the whole breadth of the policy making and to acknowledge that something it may be offensive and it may be highly controversial to many people, but it is going to move us forward. I truly believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a whole lot of hard we've talked about just as far as bills and what have you, but I think it's important to remind people that we are humans up here and we have very normal and sad and a mix of emotions of things that happen in our personal lives, and we had a colleague who lost a family member unexpectedly this week, and so that was another thing that really kind of threw everything just off a little bit, us having to kind of recalculate how to just run everything on the floor, and people had to move around, and it's incredibly sad when somebody loses a loved one. And I remember when I first got in here, so I came in 23, and we have that break in between part 1 and part 2. And it only happens in a 30-day session, so only in those odd years. And I lost my mother as soon as we got out for break. And so a lot of people didn't even, Rachel knew about it, but I don't know that you knew about it at the time. I don't think a lot of people knew about it. It wasn't something that I was discussing. And so it's just it's never a good time to lose somebody, but while you are doing this job, which is already so incredibly challenging and stressful and important, it just makes it extra painful.
And we really build relationships here with with so many members, despite where you are from a party line. And we are humans first. We are individuals who can care and have a lot of sadness for someone else's loss. And there's no accept to that. That's just how it is. And we are one body in support of our members, and I really appreciate that about being here, because when push comes to shove, this General Assembly will say your family comes first. And there will never be any pressure to take away from what you have to do for your family for this position. And so
and I think that's because there's so much sacrifice that people already make just getting to this job, that once you're here, people understand you're still continuing to make those sacrifices just while we're in session, but sometimes things are going to come up. Kids are going to get sick, you're going to have a death in the family, like all these things are going to happen. People are going to maybe lose their job, just all of these things. And so it's really important to be mindful and hold grace for people. And
our deepest condolences to those members that are going through that right now. And it just really makes you pause and reflect on what
what's important.
Exactly.
So let's be mindful of time. I know we need to talk about conference committees that are coming up.
Yes. Okay. So a conference committee is when the House and the Senate do not agree on changes that were made in the other chamber. So then they come together in what's called a conference committee. I'm heading to one after we tape on the budget, the executive budget bill. And a conference committee is just a time for us to kind of work through all the details. I'm not sure. I would assume that we actually vote on the bill at the conference committee, but I'll have more to say about that after this week.
Can I just say that I'm so glad that you're doing it and it's not me?
Oh.
I don't know how you feel about it, Rachel, if you're like, I want to be in.
Well, is this specific to this is a budget conference
This
committee.
is budget
so they go line by
committee.
line and explain the bill.
I believe so. I
Yes.
think that we will iron out the differences between the House and the Senate versions of the budget.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting. I'm just an alternate, so I don't believe I get to vote, but we'll see if they let me speak.
I hope so.
All right, Sarah, what are you looking forward to today?
Okay, so We talked about this before, about this really great show that I had watched and encourage you all to watch, which was Jury Duty.
Yes.
And so the same creators of that show, Jury Duty, are putting out a new show called Company Retreat.
Right.
And that starts tonight. And I'm excited about it just for me personally, but I'm also excited because my daughter's excited and she wants to
that's
watch it
exciting.
with us. And so I'm like, oh, good, she'll come out of your room. What about you, Rachel?
There's the final season of Outlander is out, and so episode 3 of the last season comes out today. And so I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna watch that before going to a fish fry.
All right. How about basketball? Anyone?
Oh, and basketball. So my family does the March Madness bracket, and so I filled out mine, submitted it, and if I win, I either get to make some money, or I get to
You're gambling, is what I'm hearing?
in the family, and then all residential, or I get to go out, pick where we get to go out for dinner. So
That's nice.
Yep.
Yeah,
What
I
about
don't
you?
follow basketball at all.
I don't follow
I'm not in
basketball
any brackets. I know that there's a UK game going on right now, so who knows. As far as me, I'm excited because last night a new episode of The Pit came out, but then this weekend I'll definitely kind of try to watch a little bit of Company Retreat. Yeah.
Good.
So we hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Carpool Chat, and we hope to see you next week. Take care.
today's episode is sponsored by Discount Chocolate from a Friend. What says I love you like chocolate for friends?
Thank you.